When I was newly ordained, I taught high school in Niles, Illinois, Notre Dame High School, now Notre Dame College Prep. It's a little nicer than it was when I was there, apparently. But we had a faculty meeting that first semester, and our principal, Father Ken, gathered everyone together, all the faculty in the room, and he started off with this very nice, after the prayer, very nice message. He goes, I know this is a very busy time of the year. It's a rough time to meet, but I really appreciate you coming together at this busy time. And it was wonderful. He was acknowledging that, yeah, it was a busy time. We were really busy. We had a lot of things to do. There was exams and papers and assignments, and homecoming was coming up, and we were really busy. Then we had a meeting in the spring. And after the prayer, he said, I know it's a really busy time, and I know this is a tough time of the year, but I really appreciate you being here. Every meeting we ever had, Father Ken said, I know this is a busy time. Thank you for coming. And it was wonderful. It was wonderful, this idea that he was acknowledging that we're always busy. We're always, annoyed to have to come to a faculty meeting. And his idea that every time was a bad time was a great lesson for me. Because we often feel that way in general. We look back at earlier times. Oh, things were so much easier then. I could have met with you back in August. It seemed like there was a lot of time I could have had. Except back in August, it was really a busy time. And it was hard to meet. We always have this golden past we look back to when things were much better than they are right now. Because that's basically how we live our lives. It just seems to be horrible right now. We do that with history and politics and just about everything. We used to go to the bookstores. I haven't been to a bookstore in a long time, but they had whole racks of books about the end times and the rapture and how things were really getting bad now. And these are clearly signs of the end. And boy, are we busy facing all these tribulations that seem to be upon us. People worried about corruption and catastrophes and plagues and wars and devastations. And they point to it and say, see, this is the end. This is what Jesus was talking about, that it's really bad now. But the problem is, it's sort of like a kid in a long trip. Are we there yet? Isn't the end coming soon? It's got to be coming soon, right? Because look at how bad things really are now. But it's really a bad understanding of history, because things have always been bad. We've always been busy. Some people like to look back at the golden age of the 1950s. I wasn't alive, but I can tell you, I've read a little bit of history. As good as it was for some people, it was really bad for others. There was still lynchings going on in the South. There was racism. My mom couldn't get a credit card until the mid-70s, for goodness sakes. I mean, things were not always better just because it's in the past. We're always busy. We're always facing crisis. We're always in flux. And then in the midst of that, we're told, that the world will end. The end is near. People holding signs at football games used to be a cliche. The end is near. But instead of worrying about whether the end is really near, whether this is the busiest time or the worst time we've ever had, we need to look at the main message of Jesus. His message was not worry about the end because it's coming soon. In fact, this gospel, despite all the descriptions of horrible things, he says, all these things will pass, but that still won't be the end. So don't worry about that. The main message Jesus talks about all the time is the good news, is that we're loved, is that death is not the end, and that even if we suffer, there's more important things that await us wonderful things that await us because we are children of God. None of us need to worry about the end of times as much as we have to worry about what are we doing with the time we have. We have to get rid of fear and the shame that we're not going to be accepted by God at the end of time, that he's going to wipe us out in rage and anger as all these catastrophes take place and the world comes to an end as some giant apocalyptic fiasco. That's not what we have to worry about. We have to worry about, have we been forgiving toward others as much as we know that God will forgive us when we turn to him? Have we been loving toward others so that we can reflect the love that we've received from God? Will there be an end of time? Absolutely. I think even, physicists will acknowledge that. Will there be an end of our lives? Absolutely. Will we know when it's coming? Probably not. So instead of worrying about that, we worry about the time we do have and what we're doing. Because worrying about the end of time is what Jesus tells us not to do. He goes, you're not going to know. A lot of bad things are going to happen, and you still won't be at the end. And if Jesus tells us not to worry about it, then why should we? We should only worry about the time we have and about the way we live during that time. Because we are not God. We don't know the end. And that's good enough for me. We know instead what we're supposed to do with the time we have.